Okay, welcome back. My name is Omolo and this is Osego Codes. What do we have here today? What we have here today is the installation of a Nuxt 3 project and setting it up to use Tailwind CSS for styling. What is Nuxt? Nuxt is a server-side framework built on top of Vue. And from the official Nuxt website, Nuxt is a progressive web framework, open source framework that makes full stack development with Vue.js intuitive. I think that's right, intuitive. And Tailwind CSS is a utility-first CSS framework packed with classes like Flex, PT4. Basically, what this means is that with Tailwind CSS, you simply style your website or your application using classes, like you write classes to add styles. And we are going to see that in practice. Now, when I talk about installing a Nuxt 3 project, what I mean is that if you want to build an application and you want to use Nuxt 3, now, how you set up that project, use Nuxt. That is what I mean by installing a Nuxt 3 project. Or in other words, setting up a Nuxt 3 project, and then you can start writing on it. So we are going to do that in this video, and also maybe at the end of the video, we can also look into the folder structure, and that will be basically the agenda of this video. So let's get into it without wasting time. Now, if you go to the Nuxt website, that's by typing nuxt.com, this should be the landing page. And here you can either use npm create Nuxt at latest, or you can click on get started, which is what I prefer with reason. The reason I prefer getting started is because right here I can choose which package manager I want to use to set up this Nuxt project. And in my case, I love using pnpm because it's pretty fast compared to npm and yarn. So what do I do from this point? I just need to copy this command and then fire up my terminal. To fire up my terminal, if I'm using Ubuntu, I simply press Ctrl Alt and T, and that will bring up my terminal. Once my terminal is up, I can then navigate to a directory where I want to set up this project. That is desktop, and then tutorials, and then that's right. What we need to do is to paste the command that we had, that is what we copied right here, back to our terminal. So I'll come here and paste that command right there. And what I need to do is to change this project name to a name of my liking. And I will call this, okay, then press enter. Now this will take some time initializing the project. And then you'll be able to choose which package manager do you want to use, as you can see right here. So that's done. And then you'll be asked package manager you want to use. Now creating a Nuxt new project, Nuxtail. This is the name of our project. And then now the next question here is, which package manager would you like to use? In my case, I want to use pnpm, and you can see it's marked as current because our command was pnpm. Now, once you see this highlighted, you can always change this using the arrow keys. Leave it at pnpm, then press enter. Now, what we have is installing dependencies. This will also take some time, depending on your internet connectivity. And then, do you want to initialize a Git repository? For now, no. And then, will you like to install any of the official modules? So we have Nuxt content, Nuxt ESLint. ESLint is okay. I can use that for formatting and readability. So just using your arrow key, you can select what you want. For example, I want the Nuxt ESLint package, so I'll press spacebar to select it. Using arrow, Nuxt fonts, not really. Okay, let me just select that. Nuxt icon, Nuxt image, no. Scripts, utils, UI, no. And so that's it. And after that, press enter. That will install those packages. And then from there on, we can now have our project ready to start. So depending on internet connectivity, that will take some time. So let's relax. Fantastic. So that is done. The installation of the project is done. Now, what we have here is Nuxt project has been created with v3 template. Next steps is to change directory into our project, which is Nuxt Tailwind. And then we start our development server by typing pnpm run dev. So that is what we want to do. Simply do this, cd into Nuxt Tailwind, press enter. And then before we even run our application, let's first open it in VS Code. To do that, we type code space period, press enter. That will start up VS Code in the current directory, which is our project. Yes, I trust, please. I'm the author. Good. Then in our terminal here, we will now run pnpm run dev. And the run dev is right here, which runs this script, Nuxt dev. So just a minute. All right, so in our terminal here, we need to type pnpm, sorry for that, pnpm run dev, press enter. That should start our application in development mode. And we're likely to face a problem with node modules, and if that happens, we need to simply delete the node modules and install it. But luckily enough, we didn't have the problem. So you see our application is running on localhost 3000. So I can press on Control and click on this URL to preview our website on the browser. And there we land. Looking here, we have welcome to Nuxt, getting started with Nuxt, and then it tells you remove this welcome page by replacing the Nuxt welcome in the upload file with your own code. So to try that, let me just go back to the code itself, and they say upload view. And what it says is that remove this Nuxt welcome or replace it with your own code. Now what happens? Remove that and then replace it with your own code. Let's say a h1 tag. So in this h1, I can, let's say, welcome to Osego codes. What do we expect? We expect that if you go back to the browser, the only thing that we should be able to see is welcome to Osego codes. Now, coming back to the browser, that is it. That is what we have there. Now that we have our next application up and running, what do we need to do? We need to add Tailwind CSS as our main styling framework. To do that, the best way that I recommend is going to the official site for Tailwind CSS, and this is why. It is easier because it's a documentation from the creators. Now, if I go back to Tailwind website, then I click on Get Started, right? I'll click on that, Get Started, and then Nuxt the framework. So I need to click on Framework Guides right here, and then click on Next. Now, this is the procedure, or this is the entire instruction that you need to use. First things first is to create your project, which you already have because we've created our project using the instructions from Nuxt. What happens is that I love using the official websites. Now, if it is about creating a Nuxt project, I first go to the Nuxt website, right? If it's about creating a Tailwind or adding Tailwind to a project, I prefer going to the Tailwind website and following the instruction from their site. Now, we'll skip this instruction here because we already have Nuxt created. So we start from here, where what we're doing is installing Tailwind CSS and installing the Vite version, that is Tailwind CSS Vite. And remember, we are using pnpm, so I'll replace npm with pnpm. So let me copy this right here, copy, and going back to my VS Code, I can open a new terminal station right here, and then I can paste that command and then change npm to pnpm. Like that, and press enter. So what do we have? The dependencies are currently linked from store, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you want to use the new store location and install dependencies with pnpm install, exactly, this is what I mentioned earlier, that you will face problems when you try to add Tailwind CSS later with the node modules. In that case, what we need to do is to delete the node modules here and install them right inside here. So to remove that, just type rm flag rf node modules, press enter. That should delete the node modules folder here, and then we'll reinstall them afresh by typing pnpm install. That is gone. So if I come here, try to do that, I don't have it, right? We have nothing. You see we are here, unable to resolve non-existent file pnpm node modules. So don't worry about seeing it right there, but it's not actually there. If I refresh, it's gone. Now, what do I need to do is to type pnpm install to reinstall them afresh. After which, we are now going to install Tailwind CSS and Tailwind CSS Vite. That should take some time, so we wait. All right, there we go. So we have our pnpm reinstalled. So what I expect that if I try installing the Tailwind package again, that should work. So we have pnpm install Tailwind CSS and at Tailwind CSS Vite, press enter. That should now work. Okay. While installing that, let's confirm and see that our project is still up. Oh, it was broken because we deleted node modules, right? So clear this up, and then we do pnpm run dev. Let's see. That should work. Correct. Correct. In a minute, our site will be up and running again. Good. You see it's coming back. And then once it is completely built or compiled, you're going to have welcome to Osego Codes here again. At the same time, our Tailwind CSS is already installed. That is the first step. Install Tailwind CSS and Tailwind CSS Vite packages. Going back to the Tailwind CSS website here, this is done. Next, we want to go and configure the Vite plugin. Now, we need to open the nuxt.config.ts and then add this as follows. So coming here, I'll just drop it down this way. Let me just split the screen to make it clear. Good. So we right here, what I need to do is now configure Vite plugin. So I need to open nuxt.config.css here, and then first thing to do is to import Tailwind CSS from Tailwind Vite. Add that right there, and then add Vite configuration here. And what we're trying to add here is a plugin for Vite. Plugins. And then what we're adding is Tailwind CSS. And that's it for that step. Next, we need to import Tailwind CSS. So what do we need to do is to create an assets CSS main CSS file and then add import Tailwind CSS. That will import Tailwind CSS to our styling sheet. So I need to just create a new folder here, name it assets, and then under assets we call it CSS folder, and then add a file main.css, and then in that side, and then inside that file I need to copy this and then import it right there. The next is to add CSS globally. Now back to Nuxt.Tailwind CSS, I'm going to add a CSS configuration CSS, an array, and then copy this path inside here. So this path basically points to our CSS file, start a build process, which is npm run dev. So coming back here, our application is already up and running. Let me refresh and see what happens. If I refresh, if we don't see Tailwind taking shape, then I need to stop and restart my project. Let's come here. In a few, that should be done. Right, what do we have here? We have Tailwind installed. How I can tell that is we have zero margin here. So let's test. Going back to my app.view where I had my h1 tag, I can now add a class. Let's say class text center to move it to the center. That works. Okay, let me zoom in to make this clear. Correct. Let me add some color. Text blue 500. Good. Font extra bold. That is okay. So that is how you set up Nuxt project and then add Tailwind CSS. In our next video, what we're going to do is to take you through the folder structure, understand the folder structure, and then also to customize your Tailwind CSS. Like you can have primary color, secondary color, primary text, and everything. So this will make it easier for you to style and also add consistency to your styling. Until then, see you in the next video. This was Osego Codes signing out. Bye.